Hello everybody, I'm Melissa and welcome back to Book Bar and welcome to my favorite video to film my monthly stats and faves. So this is my January stats and faves. So yeah, you know, here for a great time. If I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my laptop that has all of my fun statistics. I'm using Cassidy at Covers with Cassidy's reading spreadsheet tracker this year. And so I'm tracking all my reading stats. So basically, in the month of January, I read a total of 35 books and I DNF'd one book. I DNF'd The Obsession at like 30%. So I counted the pages, but I don't count the books. So yes. It was a total of 12,822 pages this month. It was insane. Insanity. Which made my average page count about 366 pages, 367 pages, and my average pages per day was 413. So, which leads into like my most pages and least pages. My most pages per day was on January 20th. I read 991 pages. That was the day I read 2 books in the Off Balance series in one day. I mean, I listened to them, but it's fine. Yeah, so I listened and read along. And then my worst day of the month was January 31st. I read 39 pages. I had read a ton throughout the month and I just like wanted to catch up on like my reading journal and like doing all these other things. So I didn't read a lot that day. So I read 39 pages. My star breakdown. I had 14 5 stars, 7 4.5 stars, 5 4 stars, 4 3.5 stars, 4 3 stars, and 1 2.5 stars, with an average rating of 4.29, which is pretty good, solid. A little lower than normal, I feel like. I think now I'm trying to be a little bit more critical with my reading, so we'll probably see an uptick in like 4.5s than we do in 5s. I read 1 new release, so the way I'm tracking this, I mean, normally I count a new release as anything released within the last 365 days, but for purposes of this, I'm only counting new releases as books published in 2023. So I read 1 new release, 26 backlist, so anything prior to 2022, and 8 that were published last year. I read 8 physical books, 11 audiobooks, 9 ebooks, and 7 that were mixed media, so listening and reading along, which is pretty good. Like, that's a pretty solid amount. I started 13 series. I continued 7 series. I completed 4 series, and I'm caught up with 3 series, and then I read 10 standalones. Now, a lot of those are also, like, interconnected standalones. So, like, I read Throttled by Lauren Asher. That's an interconnected standalone. I could count it as a standalone, but it is technically part of a series. So, yes. I read 12 books from Audible, 8 on KU, 3 from my library, 1 NetGalley ARC, and then 9 were owned books of mine. And then for some reason it won't count my AnyPlay books, but that's fine. The genre breakdown, obviously I read mostly romance. I had a total of, my genre breakdown, I read 22 romances this month. I know young adult is not a subgenre, or it's not a genre, it's an age category, but I read 4 young adult books, 3 short stories, 1 nonfiction, 2 fantasies / science fiction, 1 mystery thriller, and 1 historical fiction, and 1 manga, which was a romance manga, but it was a manga. 4 romance subgenres. I read 10 sports romances, which I know technically would be a contemporary, but I'm trying to break it down into like even more subgenres. So 10 sports romances, 1 fantasy romance, 2 contemporary, just like straight up contemporary, not necessarily small town, or sports romance, or dark, or anything like that. 2 contemporary, 2 historical romance, 4 small town romances, 2 dark romances, 1 mafia romance, which I know could be considered dark, but I kind of like to split the difference between mafia and, like, I like to see how many mafias I read, because I feel like of dark romances, I mostly read mafia. So I want to see how that ends up shaking out in the end of the year. And then 1 manga romance, but I just counted that as manga. So that is that breakdown. Another fun stat that I have this year is the authors that I read from the most. I read 5 books by Holly Black and 5 books by Lucia Franco this month. So, yes. And my favorite statistic is that this spreadsheet has is publishers. So, I had 18 indie/self pub books, which is what I want. I want most of my reading to be indie and self pub because I want authors to be supporting themselves. I think that's fantastic. I read 1 Bloomsbury book, 1 Source book, 2 HarperCollins books, 8 Hachette books, which were all Little Brown. So, well, not all of them. There were a couple Orbits. And 1 Macmillan and 1 Penguin Random House. Those are just the parent publishers. That's not necessary. I'm not going to do each specific. But, yeah, I did read mostly indie self-pub, which is pretty much going to be how it is every month. So, because I do mostly read from indie publishers. So now we're into the best part, my favorites of the month. So I have 2 honorable mentions because they were tied for number 5, but I just had one that stuck out in my brain more that I'm like still thinking about to this day. I have 2 honorable mentions. They had the same like breakdown as my number 5 book, but I just am still thinking about number 5, whereas these 2 I haven't thought about quite as much. But my 2 honorable mentions are Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann and The Culmination of Everything by Christina C. Jones. Both fantastic, both 5 stars. So, yes. Now, we're just going to go ahead and talk about the top 5. So, at number 5, we have Brutal Vows by J.T. Geissinger. This is the 4th book in the Queens of Monsters series. Technically, they all could be read as standalones. I would not do that. I would read them in order of how they were published because each character is like built upon. You see each character. You see past characters in these books. This is Raina and Spider. Spider played a big role in the 3rd book, and he blames himself for something that happened, and so he agrees to enter a marriage with the daughter of the hopeful head of the Costa Nostra, and so he goes to meet her, and he meets her wee viper of an aunt, Raina, and they have just such an amazing like hate to love romance. Raina had been married previously, so she does not agree with what her brother is doing to his daughter because she hated her husband and had a very abusive marriage. So, yes, fantastic. All these are 5 stars. All these are faves. Absolutely love them. Then at number 4, it's actually just an entire series. The Off Balance series by Lucia Franco. I own books 1 and 2 right now. I also bought book 5, and I will hopefully get the other 2 at some point. But just absolutely adored this series. I read it all in an entire weekend. I'm obsessed. It is taboo. It is age gap. She is under 18 when this starts, but I'm okay with it. I didn't think I would be, but I am. I'm okay with it, and I adore it. So yes, a favorite for sure. Rhea and Kova will live on in my memory forever, and I already want to reread this. Like, the whole series, I just want to reread already, and I literally just finished it, so yes, absolutely had to be in the faves. Then at number 3, The Hardest Fall by Ella Maise. This was a fun sports romance. I really loved it when I read it, but I don't remember much about it now. So it's one that was really fun when I read it, and it was really fun when I read it, and I had a great time, and I gave it 5 stars. But it's not one that I'm going to think about. Like, I don't know if it'll make like a favorites of the year because it's not one that I think about daily. This is Zoe and Dylan, and Zoe first meets Dylan when I'm reading what I wrote. The first time she meets him, he is going to the bathroom. So he is fully on display there. She asks him to kiss her, and he says no. And so she's mortified and spends the next couple years trying to avoid him until they end up being accidental roommates. This book ended up being way more emotional than I thought it was going to be. It was crazy. Do note there are content warnings for SA, not by the hero to the heroine, not to the heroine at all, not to the hero. It is to a side character, but it is talked about and mentioned. And then there is violence towards women, happening to the heroine, not by the hero. It does happen to the heroine multiple times. She is in a situation where she is hurt by a man. So, yes. Yeah. So, do know that. But it was fantastic. I gave 5 stars. I had a great time. And yeah, like I said, my brain is everywhere today. Then number 2 was Funny Feelings by Tarah Dewitt. This is just such an adorable friends to lovers romance with an age gap. Silver Fox over here. Everyone that has raved about it is correct. I absolutely adored it. I fell into the trap of loving this. Farley is a comedian, and she is asked to go on tour with these other famous comedians, but because she's not as popular as they are, they tell her that she needs to like drum up a fake relationship. So she asks her manager, who is her best friend, Maise, and Maise and Farley's relationship is just adorable and so fun. The way Farley is with Maise's daughter, his daughter is deaf, and so but Farley knows ASL, and so it's just so fun, and like their relationship was adorable. And yes, 5 stars. I had a great time. And then my absolute favorite book of this month was King of the Court by R.S. Gray. I read this for the KU Readathon. I'm so glad I finally picked it up. It was just amazing. Ben and Raylan, and Ben is a big basketball star about to go to the Olympics. And before that, he has to go train with his team in a small town of Pine Hill, Texas. And he goes there and he meets Raylan at the diner. She's the waitress at the local diner, and they hit it off. They have a great time. The scene, I talk about this in every time I talk about this book, I talk about the scene in the SUV after the dinner. Makes me blush. Will live rent-free in my brain. Adorable, perfection. The way that Raylan just is like, takes charge and is like, no, this is what I want, this is what I want to do. Fantastic. I cried, I laughed, I was mad, I was happy, I felt all of the emotions. Yes. 5 stars, of course. All of them. All of my tops are always 5 stars. But yeah, those are my stats and faves for the month. I like having more stats to be able to talk about because I'm a nerd like that, and I do like to do this, and I can't wait to do like an end of the year one because I hopefully have correct stats this year. Sorry if the angle changed, my phone fell. But I will hopefully have corrected stats so I could have like all of the stats at the end of the year. I want to just shower you with all of them. But if you made it to the end of this video, leave me any heart emoji because I'm looking at the TV and there is a commercial for Reese's hearts. So leave me a heart, any color heart, I don't care. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. It really helps me out, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye.